Joining us now is Solon Simmons. He is with George Mason University. Mr. Simmons, a shutdown is not something we have in this country. Can you explain, and it sounds pretty serious, and it sounds like it can hurt a lot of people. Why is this process even in place in the first place? What function does it serve?
Well, you've got to be able to, first you have to fund the government in order to be able to run the government. And that's really the issue here, is that is appropriating the money to run the government. And really where we sit now is we're in the second act of a four-act play. And you always want to see on television that things are epochal, they're huge, they're transformative. And I think in some ways what we're seeing really is all of those, has all those characteristics. First, we had the Bush tax cut extension issue back right after the Republicans won the election back in November. Now we are talking about funding the current budget, the 2010 budget. So imagine that you don't have a job next year and you're already talking about what you're going to be doing with all your money. Right now we don't really have a job for people to be doing in a sense they're not funded. Right away on Sunday, you're going to see this come forward. Congressman Paul Ryan is going to release the 2012 budget contest. And that's going to be even bigger than this. And then down the road, we're going to be talking about when we hit the debt ceiling, can we borrow the money we need to keep things going? It's a massive game of chicken, Dan. It's an incredible thing. We saw it before in 1995, and it's happening all over again.
Is it just brinkmanship, though, both sides hoping to get their own way, or does a shutdown at this point look pretty likely?
I think it's pretty, well, I don't know. One never knows. I think that when you get closer to the thing, you may back down. And I should say, it seems, you know, there has been a lot of compromise already. They seem to be fairly close in a lot of the, both in the numbers and some of these issues like whether abortion writers are going to be in there and whether Environmental Protection Agency issues as well. So they're fairly close. When we get a few hours down the road, I imagine they may decide to back off. But you have to keep in mind what's going on. The Republican leadership is very bold here. They held only one House of Congress. And they're up about 50 seats, but they just have one. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the presidency. They know that the president can veto this. They know the Senate doesn't have to pass it. So it's a very bold play. And they're preparing for the next phases of this conflict. The reason that we might expect there might not be a shutdown is because it looks as if the Republicans might own this more than the Democrats if it comes into play. The country's going to be very upset if it happens. You can be rest assured. But the Republican Party, with the Tea Party element backing this cut it or shut it kind of line that we've seen played out, I think faces more downside risk. No upside for either party, but certainly more downside potentially for the Republicans. Also because we already have a script in place, right? We had this in '95. It was Newt Gingrich. They got blamed for it largely. Clinton won re-election. So that if that script starts to play out, which Obama probably is very cognizant of, then the Republicans have more to fear.
Some people have suggested that what we have is we've got this flock of new Congress guys who became entrenched during their election campaign, saying not a penny more. You know, this government is wasteful. The Democrats are spending too much money. We're going to cut taxes, not a penny more. And now they have to live with that.
Well, they do. Remember George Bush, read my lips, no new taxes. That's the era we live in, and especially in the Republican Party side. I like to think of it this way. We have a choice for the 21st century between two centuries from the past, the 19th or the 20th. The Republican Party likes the rugged individualism, the free-floating business culture of the 19th century without all the regulations, the taxation, and the social protections of the 20th century. The Democratic Party is the party of the 20th century. So in a sense, these two parties are so far apart. That's why this battle is so important and why it's going to get very, very ugly and very quick. Because the ideologies really are coming into conflict. And to meet halfway here is extremely difficult. Even the Republican Party has to go, you'd have to repeal the Great Society and the New Deal for the Republican Party to have where it would like to go, because they believe in business culture, they believe in the free market, and you can see this throughout the rhetoric. It's a very ideologically pure party, and they're going to go for it.
If I could ask you for a quick answer, I know this is tough. If there's a shutdown, what happens? Who gets hurt? What services stop?
Well, I mean, one of the things you want to pay attention to are the national parks. If you've got any plans to visit the Smithsonian or the Grand Canyon, I'd cancel them, or at least, or I'd look into something else. Really, it's basically we're talking about security issues. We're talking about police. We're talking about the military. Anything which is going to physically protect people, perhaps fire services. Those are the kind of things you're going to see open. Everyone else is quickly finding they're non-essential, which is the language we use, and it's going to be a lot of people.
So if you don't work for Homeland Security, you're non-essential.
And the FBI, right? Exactly. So you're gonna figure out where you rate.
Solon Simmons, nice to see you again, sir. Thank you very much.
Nice to see you, Dan.
Mr. Simmons is with George Mason University.